Dude, welcome to fuck, fuck. Welcome to Mance Dawn. I'm Luke,
And I'm Janine.
and this is a new podcast. This is sort of the test of this podcast, where I'm a person who has bad ideas that come from a bad brain, and I'm somehow still alive, and I enjoy Simpsons and One Piece.
And I can easily be talked into whatever kind of nonsense that Luke ever comes up with. I have never seen One Piece, and I know of The Simpsons as well as anybody else listening would.
Yeah, I feel like in many ways The Simpsons is a bit of hard to escape cartoon Americana. I can't say inescapable because I knew the weird Christian kids who are homeschooled and didn't get to watch The Simpsons, but for me growing up it was like, oh no, every Sunday night when there's a new episode, we're watching The Simpsons. My brother got the episode guidebooks, and so I'm like most people, I like the first dozen or so seasons of The Simpsons. The point where they start to get needlessly sexist and also really transphobic for a click there. It's like, no, I'll tap out now.
I think that where I started getting off of The Simpsons was the episode. It might be the title, but just like an easy way to remember it is Homer joins a cult.
Oh, the Movementarians.
Yes.
Yeah, yep. No, that's kind of like a good area to drop out. I know Devin, my co-host on many other projects, is a hardcore Simpsons fan, and it's like, no, you just keep watching it. But his tastes can be wildly variable. But we're not here to talk about him. We're also here to talk about One Piece, which is something that I got into with the Four Kids dub, which is kind of infamously bad for reasonable reasons. And then I kind of got out of it beyond a video game, which is very weird because they had to keep the Four Kids dub continuity and voices when they localized it, which meant that they just had to get rid of a bunch of characters who were in the game who the anime hadn't gotten to yet, which is a wild thing to do. But then uh, through the magic of scans, I started reading and was caught up for a while, took a break, and then at the start of the pandemic, it was like, I got my tax refund. We aren't supposed to be going anywhere. I'm going to reread all of One Piece and play a bunch of One Piece video games. And then I started watching the anime, and I hit a point in the anime where the Funimation app stopped having the dub work correctly, and so that was what got me to stop watching because I there are some things I enjoy subbed, there are some things I enjoy dubbed, but if I'm watching something while I work, dubs are easier. Is that a respectable opinion, Janine?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of times, for me, I have to come up to that choice, and it usually just jumps up to, am I going to actually have time and the attention span to really dedicate to the sub, because that does require attention, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're working while you have it on, being able to hear it is a lot better than having to read it or come back to something and not really know what's going on, because you might not know Japanese.
That is very fair. I
I mean,
do not.
I know that you don't know Japanese. I'm saying that kind of like in a vague sense, like for other people. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good at languages. I took a year of Latin and then a year of Spanish, and then I just went to a VOTEC program, so I didn't need to learn a language.
I grew up in a Spanish speaking household and I still took Spanish and I still almost failed it. I can barely do English.
My dad immigrated from Germany, and I'm still amazed that like he's been here for something like probably over 50 years, and it will still be like Christmas Day. He calls up his relatives, or his relatives call him, and he catches up with him. Like it's Christmas and usually Easter. But, anyways, so that's kind of our experiences with Simpsons and One Piece. And so the idea of this podcast sort of came from me remembering that Bart Kira was a thing and kind of being like, yeah, that's making me think about like the mid early 2000s on like deviant art, where you just had a bunch of kids who were getting into things and just making kind of wild fan art that doesn't make a lot of sense continuity wise. And I kind of wanted to capture that spirit. And Simpsons and One Piece both have these impressive catalogs of characters. Like they joke that Simpsons is the show with like 1,000 characters or something, and or the cast of thousands. The cast of thousands is the terminology that they use for it, and I'm not sure there's really 1,000 characters. I don't think there is more than a singular. I don't believe there are over 2,000 Simpsons characters. That is my clear defining of what I say. There are definitely over like 2,000 named One Piece characters because One Piece scales up, and like Oda, the creator of One Piece, loves to go and uh, just make really interesting looking background characters, and then some of them turn out to be like relevant years, if not decades later. And so, what this is going to be is we are going to be like watching through One Piece and matching up Simpsons characters into these One Piece slots. And so, Janine, I feel like you're probably going to be a bit more off the cuff, using your gut with some of these picks. I'm going to try and balance between like very chaotic suggestions and also like, oh, well, if I wanted to take this very seriously, here's a better suggestion. And we are also doing this with a level of order where One Piece started its broadcast during the 11th season of The Simpsons. So we can only use characters who existed in the period that I'm going to say the Japanese episodes were broadcast in that we're going to cover in an episode, just because we have a amazing confluence of events if we do it that way. So we're going to be covering the first three episodes of One Piece and sort of a brief summary, matching some characters, uh, talking a bit of what happened in The Simpsons, and we're going to kind of move it from there. So yeah, this is going to be our show. The show called. Oh, that was the wrong button. That's the battle music I like from One Piece when shit's going to go down. This is our
Oh my
show that we call Mance Dawn, or Annoyed Grunt Mance Dawn. Yeah. So the first three episodes of One Piece are I'm Luffy, the man who's going to be king of the pirates, Enter the Great Swordsman, Pirate Hunter Rora Nora Zoro, and Morgan versus Luffy. Who's the mysterious pretty girl? And what was sort of your impression watching these three episodes, Janine? Since this was like your first time, and you were also watching the subs.
Well, before this, literally the only thing that I've ever known One Piece for was the Four Kids rap.
Hmm.
I've not watched an episode. I just kind of kept from it. So going into it not really knowing anything, it does a good job at just letting you know kind of like world building without being too expositiony.
Hmm.
Um it does feel like just like kind of any other shonen anime, except it kind of does make some pretty interesting twists and turns, like story wise. Like there's just I mean, I guess they're kind of predictable, like towards the second, like the last few moments of the second and third episodes, but um, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't want to say like it's an anime, but like
It's an anime. I mean,
it's
that's
an anime.
like
A lot
there's.
of these things are like they kind of start off a little bit formulaic because they all have the same kind of what they have to do to try to hook you in, you know?
Mhm. One Piece definitely like gets a formula and just sort of starts to expand it for better and worse. Like I want to say it's maybe 5 or 6 arcs in. There's one where it's just like in 3 episodes they get to the heart of literally like every One Piece arc wrapped up, and it's just like, yeah, no, this is pretty much what it's going to be on from. This is pretty much what it's going to be from here on out. But it's just going to be different locales, different settings, and bullshit is going to get wild. But yeah, this one to kind of summarize Luffy, that's Monkey D. Luffy, going to be king of the pirates. You did bring up the Four Kids rap, and I do want to also add in that the guy who originally recorded that did go back and expand the rap for the rest of the crew that has been added since Four Kids lost the rights to the anime.
That's amazing.
Hmm. I don't think it's as good. Like he kind of takes himself a bit too seriously.
Well, honestly, like if people are going to be asking for something like that, it's gonna kind of get to your head. So I would have probably went the same route.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. So Luffy in a barrel gets picked up on a ship that then gets invaded by Alvida's pirates. Alvida is a large woman. They definitely use different language in the Japanese sub than they do in the dub, where they're just like, oh yeah, no, she's fat, and in the comics it's like, oh, she's chunky. Just like, it's not the best thing. It's not the worst thing that happens in early One Piece. Uh, but yeah, on her crew is Kobe, who is a kid who they just uh, found and forced to be their cabin boy. He ends up meeting Luffy, who is really just interested in eating. His boat got sunk in a whirlpool. Alvida finds him. They end up fighting because Alvida has no idea who he is, and Luffy has a magical power that he is made of rubber. Uh, Meanwhile, Nami is in the background stealing things from the various ships, but we really don't get her deal beyond they kind of bring a lot of focus to her. And as a note for you, Janine, this is actually like the second arc in the manga. Uh,
Amazing.
mhm. Which I think works well as a we want to introduce everybody to what the show is going to be about and give you some like arcs and introduce the people who show up in the credits. But after they all get stopped, Kobe wants to join the Navy, so Luffy takes him to a Navy base where Roronoa Zoro is kept. He is currently stuck on a cross and has to not eat for 30 days to make up for a little girl who accidentally offended uh, Helmeppo, who sucks hard. He's a rich kid's son. Uh, and more specifically, he is the son of Axehand Morgan, who is the leader of this Navy base, who kind of runs everybody under his close watch, and nobody really likes him. They find out that Zoro is going to get killed before his time, so Luffy decides to break him out so he can join Luffy's crew, even though Zoro has been a pirate hunter so far. And ultimately, shenanigans happen. They face down Morgan and set out with the with Kobe after getting the shit beaten out of him by Luffy. Uh, Joining the Navy, Luffy did that so that they didn't think that Kobe was going to be a pirate, and Luffy and Zoro head out to try and find what's next. And Nami is looking for some treasure that is with a mysterious figure named Buggy. That's basically it. Or is there anything I am not thinking of?
Um, I mean, there's a couple of notes.
Oh yeah, no,
Um,
go ahead. Correct me.
it's not correcting at all. It's just kind of like adding to it. Um, a main thing is that Kobe that we met in the first episode tags along for the other two episodes, episode
Mhm,
2 and 3, before we say goodbye to him on the third episode. So he ends up kind of like being a little bit of a recurring character. So that kind of like colors a little bit of like how I want to cast him particularly.
mhm.
But that's just kind of like me talking out loud. Can we? I mean, like
No,
just talking about that. I think we should just get into it, right?
uh, yeah, I think so. One of the things with One Piece is that few characters are really gone forever, and
Oh,
like every character or almost every character makes an eventual return. Like I'm going to drop a spoiler image for where we see Kobe in a few hundred episodes.
a few hundred.
Yeah,
Amazing.
will it let me? Yes, marking it as spoiler because yeah,
I
he is
mean,
a weird looking wimpy kid.
that is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to use one of the clips that I have on the board?
Sure.
Oh no, he's hot!
Oh my god.
uh,
I both love and hate that you have a soundboard.
I know it's dangerous, but that's what happens when I pay to use Zencaster to record. I get
that's true.
rules.
That's true.
Mhm.
This is all Zencaster's fault. We're
It
blameless.
really is. But yeah, so we have a group of 18 characters who I feel like we are good to rank here. Like Buggy briefly shows up, but I figure we can kind of wait to cover him because he's in the next big arc. So, up first, we've got the first named character who we get introduced to, which is Kobe. Uh, who is your Kobe thought?
Now, at first I thought Kobe, being a nerd, is gonna get pushed around and everything, and then ends up kind of eventually befriending Luffy. I was thinking Millhouse, but then I don't know if it was the hair or the fact that um this person gets like beat up a bunch.
Mhm.
Like I wanted, I want to say Martin Prince.
Ooh, that is a good one. Yeah, I had Millhouse written down for mine because he definitely does have a crony vibe to him in a way.
Yeah, but I feel like Millhouse being much more of a recurring character, I would kind of want to put like up on a more prominent cast member. And
Fair.
just the nature of not seeing Kobe again for several hundred episodes and kind of forgetting him, I feel like I could do the same thing with Martin Prince every once in a while.
You know what? I am going to go with your view. Also, one of the rules we have is until the other person uses their points, we each have three sort of override points that we can use. So if you have a
We can
really strong
blackball each
opinion,
other on anime and cartoon characters.
yes.
I love it. Okay.
So I am declaring that here. But I feel like generally we can be very amenable on this sort of thing.
I mean, you talked me into this, so
Yeah. So then we have Monkey D. Luffy. And
that kind of seems obvious, right?
you
I
think
mean,
it
for me.
does, but you know how I talked about like the grand serendipity of the episodes when they came out?
Yes.
So one of the rules that I have is there are variations of characters. Like there's the Simpsons Bible stories or the tall tales or the historic stories that they tell. And then there's also a few iterations of characters who I'd say are reasonably distinct from like their normal selves. One of those who appeared in Treehouse of Horror number 10, which premiered and was the first episode of season 11, is Stretch Dude, the version of Bart Simpson who stretches.
Huh.
So, I mean, that's a very on the nose, because were you just going to say Bart?
Yeah, I mean, I was, but I think that definitely laser focuses it, right?
Yeah, like we can just bring in a regular Bart Simpson in the future, but Stretch Dude, I feel like fits very well. So after that, we have Alvida, uh, who makes a reappearance later on, and sort of becomes a recur. Like so many characters here become recurring. Alvida becomes recurring. Uh, who is your suggestion for Alvida?
Now, this one I got stuck on for the longest time,
Mm-hmm.
but she does give me vibes of Lunch Lady Doris.
Holy fucking shit!
What's that?
That was mine. It was either that or the Dowager, who's just like one of those background characters. But yeah, no, Lunch Lady Doris really works.
All right. Well, then that's a creep then. Okay.
So there's a lot. So in the One Piece manga, Ichiro Oda does a like letters column, which is interesting because sometimes he'll talk about the origins of characters. A lot of times it's people giving names to characters. He also talks about like, oh well, if they are from countries in the real world, this is what country these characters would be from, or what their favorite food is. And sometimes it's like, yeah, you really don't know a lot about these. But the three pirates who originally find Luffy in the barrel along with Kobe are Hippoko, Pepoko, and Papoko. And they're apparently all brothers, even though they all look very different. Did you have anyone in particular you're thinking of for them?
I really didn't. Like, honestly, the first three that kind of, like, came to mind was, like, um, Lenny, Carl, and Barney, but I don't know if I want to, like, blow those, you know?
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. So do you want to hear my out of the left field suggestion?
Yes, I do.
David S. Hubbins, Nigel Tufnell, and Derek Spalls of Spinal Tap.
Oh, I didn't know that guest stars were available to be put on the table.
Yeah, they are definitely characters who are in here for another trio of characters I was initially seeing if Cypress Hill would fit, and then I found a much better solution.
Amazing.
So are we good with Spinal Tap?
I'll go ahead and I'll write that down myself. I'm not writing down shit, but I am agreeing. Yes.
All right. So then we've got two of our primary characters in here. We've got Nami and Zoro, but let's do Nami first. We don't get too much of her, and I feel like the easy bad solution is Lisa.
I mean, you know that she's going to be around a lot and it's kind of like there, but um I I think what's wrong with me, like what I can't really place is that there's been almost no characterization on Nami other than she's looking for the Grand Line map
Hmm.
and
She's
she likes
stealing
to
treasure.
steal. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
and I don't think that was like enough for me to really come up with anything. So I'm
Do
really
we
going to
want?
have to like
We can table her if you would like.
you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. So just so that I can be able to like fairly make a decision.
Fair enough. Do you feel like you have enough of Zoro?
I kind of do.
All right. Well, I want to hear your suggestion because I've got an easy bad suggestion, which is Homer, which is like the. It is a bad suggestion. It is like a. Wait, so are we saying that on some level he's related to Bart, which we don't need to. Like, if I overthink it, it is very easy to just get fucked up on it. So, what is your suggestion for Zorro?
Hmm. I kind of want to go Nelson Muntz.
I can see that. Do you want to hear my absolute fucking insane suggestion?
Sure.
Because I'm going to pop some music behind this because. Oh no, I accidentally just deleted the song that I was trying to play. Let me put that back in. Why did they make it so easy to delete? My wild suggestion is Zorro, the swordsman from like literature and stuff. So, one of the other episodes that premiered alongside the Simpson or one of the Simpsons episodes that appeared alongside these One Piece episodes is EI,
Go!
which begins with the film The Poke of Zorro. So that's my like fucking out there suggestion.
I think that might be too out there.
I really think it is because he like appears for all of 10 seconds, but it's like, do we see why the fates have aligned? Eh, we don't need to. I feel like Nelson isn't quite the right energy though.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know a lot about I don't know a lot about Zorro. I mean, like, from the get-go, he kind of is, displayed as kind of like someone that's really scary, and then, like, you just kind of see, like, a little bit of a heart of gold, but then mostly just kind of like, whatever bullshit this troublemaker is, I'll definitely follow along with it. So, I really can't find anything else other than Nelson energy. If he's
You
got
know,
any other characterization besides that, I don't fucking know.
you know what? And that is a true to what we are doing your characterization. So I'm going to say, yeah, Nelson is going to be our Zorro. So after that, we have Helmeppo, the shitty son of Axan Morgan. I have
I
Ralph Wiggum.
Ralph Wiggum? I don't know. I think Ralph has, like, a little bit of an innocence to him that's, like, different. I mean, like, being a kid of, like, authority figure is one thing, but, being a sniveling bastard's another thing.
There. I went with Ralph just because of my pick for Axan Morgan and that sort of synchronicity.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So with Morgan, you went with Wiggum?
Yeah,
Huh. I was thinking more McBain for that guy.
for Morgan.
Yeah, McBain.
Mm-hmm. I, I feel like McBain is
Is too
my
strong of a
yeah. And who is your choice for Helmeppo? Out of curiosity.
I couldn't think of one.
Ah,
There's not an like, I was thinking, like, about sniveling bastards and everything, and I was thinking about, like, a couple of them, and I just had to look, and it was just like, "No, this" it's either, like, not a part of, like, the right season, broadcast time, or it was just, I don't know. There was, not enough, the closest I think I got was, like, Smithers, but then it was just like, "N no, I"
that's like the wrong energy.
yeah.
Yeah. If this is a dangerous game we play. Uh, hmm. Yeah, like Ralph doesn't fit 100%. I feel like for me, it's definitely more of that Wiggum connection.
I mean, if we have Morgan as Wiggum,
Hmm.
I feel like I would feel, like, safer putting, like, one of the other police officers as, um, El Mapo, like, more than I would
Ralph.
Ralph. Yeah.
All right. Let me pull up our list of Simpsons police officers. Because all the like cops and Simpsons are at least some level of corrupt.
Oh,
So,
yeah, like, there's been, like, abuse of power all the time from them.
mhm. um, I don't know. I feel like Eddie, the cop, never gets a lot of characterization. He is the white cop and partner of Lou.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm looking up here, and there's, like, not a lot of stuff in here.
Which Simpsons wiki, by the way, are you looking at?
Fandom.com.
Okay, there are two Simpsons wikis, and they have some very different options.
Amazing. That's
Yeah,
just that's just how we roll.
there's simpsons.fandom.com and simpsonswiki.com. Simpsons Wiki gets a bit more granular, which I can appreciate. But also, I'm a fucking nerd for saying that. So, so do you want to say Eddie for Helmeppo?
Sure.
And then Wiggum as Morgan?
Yes.
All right. Did you have any suggestions for Sorrow, the wolf slash dog, depending on the translation?
I didn't.
Initially, because going with the Ralph Wiggum, I was just going to say Mittens, Ralph's cat that is never actually seen. But let's see what dogs they got in The Simpsons. Because I feel like, oh, yeah, we could just use one of Burns' hounds, and that's like the exact same thing. There's just a bunch of them. You good with
Okay,
that?
sure. You know, release the dogs or the bees, or the dogs with the bees in their
These in
mouth.
their mouths.
Yeah.
Hmm. And then we have Queena, who we could probably push because I don't even think they get a name for her in this. She is the girl who you see fighting young Zorro.
Yes, definitely, definitely not enough characterization there. But not surprised if she ever turns up again.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to talk about how 4 kids fucked up her arc.
Amazing.
Uh huh. Yeah. It, yeah. Anyways, we then have Rika and Ririka. uh, Rika being the mother who runs the cafe, and Ririka, the young girl who tries to feed Zorro and then ends up making him a rice ball with sugar instead of salt. Have any suggestions for them?
I don't actually.
Uh,
Although there is a section right here for this wiki that has just mothers, so I'm just going to look through that really quick. That's a lot of. Oh my goodness. Did you know that it lists Bitey as a mother?
mhm. I call that one Bitey.
Did you have anything set?
Yeah. Just because they are very forgotten characters for the most part. I had Laura and Ruth Powers. The ages don't really work 100%, but it's like nobody really remembers them beyond like the story that is now over 20 years old, where Laura is Bart's babysitter who he has a crush on, but she likes Jimbo, and then Laura uh, goes on the lam with Marge once and then kind of gets regulated to being a background character.
I mean, I'm not going to argue it because I feel like both of them kind of, I don't know. Do we see them again?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay. Well,
Like I said, you see almost everybody who's given a name.
oh my god. There's several names here of just so much so people who have like so much more smaller roles inside of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller than this. I mean, I'll give it to you without a fight because I kind of am curious to see if it becomes relevant later, and then should we get to that point, we can then judge if we made the right decision. Then
You know, it's like the theme song says, we don't need compasses to guide us where we're going or whatever. We just follow our hearts and the will of the ocean or whatever. We're also making it's also a better decision to watch the subs because the dub for the first season or so, they decided, oh yeah, redo the theme song in English, and they got the Bad Vic guy to do it. And it's not only a bad cover of it, but eventually they're just like, oh, yeah, no, we're just going to keep the Japanese theme songs because they have a good energy to them. All right. Then we have a trio, Rokaku, Ukari, and Ripper, who are all Navy agents. Uh, Rokaku gets attacked by Morgan. Ukari scratches uh, the statue that Morgan has made of himself, and Ripper takes over the base at the end. None of them really do much after this point. So it's another, we need some filler characters for these filler characters, and I have a suggestion if you don't have anything.
Go on.
You know how I said, hey, what if we had Zorro from the Poke of Zorro as Zorro? Uh,
Sure.
in that movie, he just fights the Three Musketeers, so it's just the Three Musketeers.
Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Well, I mean, with how little screen time that they get, I kind of want to say yes to it
Mm-hmm.
because A, it's easy, and B, because if I don't have to worry about these people again, I can probably get them, just hmm. Mostly because if this continues, I don't want to like waste all of the other characters, the possibilities. This is 3 episodes, and we're already going through 18 names.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just sticking it with the Three Musketeers is fine. And then last, we have Goldie Roger, who we don't learn anything about him for a long time, but he needs to exist as a sort of mythic figure. The former king of the pirates. Do you have any suggestions for Goldie Roger?
Hmm. I don't, but my gears are turning now.
So this is another one where I had a bad suggestion and then a better suggestion. My bad suggestion is Mr. Burns, but
That does feel bad. Yeah.
like you want Mr. Burns to show up as a like actual villain who's going to be active. The better suggestion that I had is Jebediah Springfield, aka Hans Sprungfeld. Because there you get that sort of larger than life mythological figure, which is a lot of what Goldie Roger is.
Right, right. And I'm guessing that there's also going to be some kind of secret badness to it that kind of also like alludes to the real Jebediah Springfield.
I mean, they're both pirates. That's the other thing.
Oh yeah, that's true.
uh, so, are you good with Jebediah Springfield?
Yeah, like I didn't even know that I mean it makes sense now that I think about it. I thought that Jebediah was like they went in that later on, but no, it was pretty early on that they
Lisa the Iconoclast.
You would know more than I would. I haven't seen a Simpsons episode in a while. I'm mostly going through a lot of these characters by both wiki and memory. However,
Heather,
I do think that like Zorro as Muntz was probably like the one I'm going to be proud about, probably for the rest of this fucking podcast.
oh yeah, I mean Zorro is a main character, so we're going to be having Nelson Muntz show up in a lot of things, and I feel like it, like I said, better fits the idea of what this podcast is supposed to be. So I also mentioned four kids edits, and one of the other most infamous edits happens in this because four kids was like, all right, we don't want any smoking, we don't want any blood, oh, we don't want any guns.
That's
And
hmm.
so they just edited out a gun that Helmeppo holds to Kobe's head with,
I don't even know what that is.
yeah, it's like a hammer on a spring on a board uh, on a
On
gun
a
handle.
yeah, it's so weird. It's like this hammer has a pistol grip, but also a spring and a board between it. That's
Yeah, it is some wild stuff. All right. Well, that kind of wraps us up for the list that we have for the first episode. The Simpsons episodes that came out during this time were Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner, Treehouse of Horror X, EI,
No!
Hello Gutter, Hello Fodder, and 8 Misbehavin', which has now opened us up to new characters like Lifeway's editor, Luigi's chef, Stephen Hawking, Rosie O'Donnell, the Southern Colonel, the Nahasha Pima Pedalon octuplets, and Butch Patrick. So now those are now options that we have for covering characters.
actually looking back at it. I was surprised how frequently guest stars came in on this season.
Uh, the big thing was it was their 2000 Millennium Bug horror episode, and so there's the good plane full of like all the smart people, and then there's the plane of all the horrible people who they shoot to the sun, and then also you have the collector, uh, comic book guy's evil villain alter ego who has a bunch of superheroes or who has a bunch of actors uh, held in giant mylar bags. I have too much knowledge, and it's just pushing all the good stuff out of my brain.
And now we can pour all of that weird mixture out inside of a podcast for everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, Janine, before I tell you what we'll be getting ready for in the next episode, where can people find you online if they want to see you or the projects that you do?
Well, you could be able to find me on Twitter at Janine Juliet. I am also the host of My Favorite Pokemon, a podcast where I sit down and talk to somebody about their favorite Pokemon. It is kind of up on a little bit of a extended hiatus, but it's not taken down, so you can listen to it. I'm also on a couple of other of Luke's projects, including Established Property Playhouse, and I also guested on Exiled, which I'm pretty sure is one of the things that you can talk about.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Coltreg, KOLTREG, where I link a lot of the comics and podcast stuff that I do. There's Multiverse of Q, which is done, RPG Pals Club, Exile that was mentioned, Established Property Playhouse. I've just got a bunch of stuff. But yeah, this is initially going up on the Unbearable Weight of Nicolas Cage and Other Podcasts thread until we kind of figure out whether or not we want to keep doing this, because a it is an idea with both a lot of runway, but also we don't know how much gas there's going to be on this plane. So we got to see if we can take off.
I mean, I like the vibe of it. I like, you know, this kind of idea, but who knows?
Yeah, yeah. So our
But
next oh,
you
go
know
ahead.
what would really make it easier to stick with it is if people subscribe or tell us on Twitter if they like it or tell their friends.
Yeah, like if we can get 20 listens on this first episode, I mean that's a pretty good sign. That was what I needed to do Tales from the Outlands. So that's not too hard. But yeah. So next episode, Buggy the Clown and some kind of uncomfortable blackface. Next time on
Go!
Mance Dawn.
I'm already a little scared.
Yeah, it's the one good edit that 4Kids made.